All right, so I fixed a lot of stuff in this update. I made a lot of changes. I'm going to try to go over some of those. I may miss a few things that I did over or that I forgot about because I changed so many things. So, anyway, so let's just go ahead and get started. I'll pull this up. So, there was some things I fixed, and one of those was floating while spamming reload in midair. So whenever you spam and reload, you kind of glide across the map because there was nothing stopping it from being played before it was over. So I set up a do once that gets reset after the montage is finished playing. And I can go ahead and show you that actually inside of here. It's just a do once. Whenever this gets called, it gets reset. That gets called when it's interrupted or complete. So that's that. Jogging to idle, foot sliding. Um, yeah, so this was on the custom idle state, and I did fix that. I had to change my approach to that. I did a video on it the other day, maybe yesterday. I don't even remember. But anyway, so you can go and watch that. I'll have a link down in the description if you're interested in watching the breakdown on that custom idle, because that one is based off the one I'm working out of right now. So reload while jogging, it looked a little shaky. I'll go ahead and show you what I did here on that. So the layering settings for this right here, what I did is I partially put the spine in overlay 80% so that some of it was still in mesh space, about 20% of it's still in mesh space. And then I added about 50% secondary motion to the arms so that the underlying animation affects it a little bit more. And I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. So that looks a lot better in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. I'll redo that animation later so that it's more accurate, but I just don't have time to for this update. I've already done so much. I'll go over this here in a bit. So traversal replication was broken, so I had to rework the traversal animation. Traversal replication setup, and I will show you that if I can find it. I have too much stuff open right here. I'm just going to close all tabs here, go back to the event graph. That's the wrong one. Right here. So what I did is I have this replicated, but with a notify. So over here on rep traversal result, if you go in here, that's actually what calls this on each of the characters. So whenever this replicates it, it relays that replicated data to all the clients, and then all the clients will fire this function right here. Yeah, so I did not actually handle this for the server. I didn't notice any problems, but there may be a problem with it not acting on the server, in which case you would need to call that for the server, because I'm not sure the server actually fires this. It may not. So anyway, it seems to be working, and I've been playing in standalone, so I'm assuming that it works. It does. The server does fire the notify as well. Anyway, so I'm no longer replicating this doing traversal action, and I'm no longer replicating this stuff. I'm just replicating the act of firing that function, and it's going to use the traversal results provided by the server. I think that's a pretty good approach to it. Anyway, so that's that. Let's see. Custom unarmed. calling wrong server function. Yeah, so I already fixed that. I was just, so let me just go ahead and show you, I guess. If you go to the DAO logic where I have this one separated from the others, this right here was calling a different thing. It wasn't calling update IK retargeter. I mean, it wasn't calling unarmed custom. It was calling one of the other ones for one of the guns. It was calling this for one of the guns because I had copied and pasted this stuff over here. And so this right here, it wasn't calling this event. It was calling another one. That's the reason why that one wasn't working properly during replication. So this is calling the proper event now, which executes on the server. So since I set up this IK retargeter stuff, guys, I have not tested replication with this yet. So I don't know if there's going to be any problems. I don't know why there would be, but there could be problems. Just let you know. If so, I'll have to go back and see what's the problem, but I don't perceive there being any replication problems with that, but there could be. Sliding into custom transition state, again, it had to do with the way I was handling this custom idle. That's already been fixed. So you can watch that other video on the custom idle and how I did that and how I handled it if you're interested. It is like an hour long, which is why I'm not going to go over it in this video. But I will go ahead and show you. So here we are in the custom idle, and then we move, and then we stop, and then we go back into the custom idle. Now I have to do it this way. I explain it in the other one. There's almost 100. There's somewhere around 100 animations I would have to modify, and I could do that, but I'm trying to provide you guys with a reasonable approach to replacing idles without having to modify over 100 animations. So that's the reason why. I'm trying to make this friendly for people who aren't animators, who may have to get their hands a little dirty with animation, but they don't want to have to go through and do over 100 animations. So that's that. The last thing here that I wanted to go over is this right here. As you can see, it's pretty accurate. And if you've seen at the beginning, he was holding it properly in that other state, and he's holding it properly in this state, and you can offset it so that his hand comes back. You can completely modify his hand positioning on this so that he's holding it way out there or way back here. This is very good for having to deal with anatomy issues between characters, because it just goes ahead. It easily lets you adjust anatomy problems, problems related to anatomy. Now, I didn't straighten out this the rifle on him. I noticed that afterwards, and I just didn't feel like going back and doing it, because I just did like probably like a dozen characters. I fixed this up for like a dozen characters. I'll go ahead and show you. So I'll go to this guy. Pretty accurate. Now, the inaccuracy on the pistol is due to the breathing. I have the breathing. The breathing is pretty heavy. That's being layered over the top of it. But it's pretty accurate, even despite the breathing. And then I have a different one on her. And then this guy, he may need to be adjusted a little bit. It looks like he's shooting off to the right a little bit, or his gun is pointing off to the right a little bit from where he's shooting. For him, I already had some IK retargeter settings, so I just kind of copied those over to the data asset. and I'll go over the data asset here in a second. It looks like I may have missed her. Yeah, I missed her. Yeah, I definitely did. Okay. Well, that's cool. This will give me a chance to show you guys how this works. So that's completely fine. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it for a second. Actually, I should have. I'll just eject and edit, and then I'll stop. And so over here in our class defaults, you're going to notice now that we have an IK retargeter. You need to set this. If you bring in your own character and you have your own IK retargeter, you need to set it from here. I no longer have it being fetched via tag. So we're not using this tag anymore under the echo body. We're not using that anymore. So we're just setting them from here. I think that's more appropriate. I didn't like the way that they were grabbing them via tag. So under our DAO, under the class defaults, under the live retargeting chain settings, the held object states, we have these right here, and we have these right here under here, and these hold data assets. So we have that right here. Ignore this. I'll probably hide that later so it doesn't show up under the class defaults. But right now it shows up. It's going to show up under the class defaults. So just ignore it. That's just for internal purposes. I need to set that to private so it don't show. I don't think it'll show up if I set it to private. So anyway, here's the data assets. And if you wonder, and I do have data assets under here. So I renamed the overlay layering data assets. I prefixed an OL to them. And for these, I prefixed them with LR. That way, you know, this is the live retargeting and this is the overlay. That way you don't get them confused. Yeah, so under our layering data, you'll see a new PDA live retargeting data asset, and it just has 2 target chain settings inside of it. And you just need to, you can duplicate the ones in here, or you can go to miscellaneous, and oh my God, that gets on my nerves. They need to add a delay right there before the windows go away. That would be nice. So data asset and then PDA live retargeting. That's all you have to do. And then select and it'll create it for you. But so these are under the rig folders, if there is a rig folder for each of the characters, and it's under the held objects folder under that. And I separated them by held object M9 and M4A1, and then we just have this what I'm calling the held object states, which is like relaxed, ready, or aiming. Now we aren't using relaxed yet, but you'll notice that I have a relaxed state in here because I'm planning on maybe I think I will add a relaxed state to these weapons here in the near future. So that's why I added that relaxed state to the enum. And the enums are under the data, DAO data enums folder, just like the other one. So with that out of the way, you can see that they're categorized. I did them using maps. Some people don't like maps. They like using arrays, but then you have to iterate through each element of the array. Maps are really user friendly because you can just say, hey, get me this state. Here's the variable reference for this state, and it'll just return you the value, whatever has been assigned to that. And so If we go back over here and we go to update retargeter settings, you'll see that I'm getting that live retarget chain settings. I'm getting the held object states out of it based off of the current overlay state. It'll return the correct, let me see. It'll return either the pistol one or the rifle one. After it's done that, I just store it into a local variable because I'm going to use it in multiple places. Well, actually, I didn't end up using it in multiple places, so I might remove that later on. I'm only using it right here, but oh well. So anyway, I do a switch off the overlay state, and we're only doing this for the pistol or the rifle. If it's an unarmed or a custom idle, then I'm just passing in a null reference via a blueprint interface to the animation blueprint. And over here on the animation, well, let me just finish here first. So I'm getting the proper live retargeting setting data asset based off of the current held object state. So if we go back over here, you'll see that we have these, this is what we're getting this from. So if we're in the aiming state, it'll return this one. If we're in the ready state, it'll return that one. So that's pretty self-explanatory. As long as the live retargeting mesh reference is valid, then we'll call this on it. If not, then we won't. This isn't really relevant because in actuality, you can call this on a null reference, a blueprint interface function, and it simply won't do anything. It's not going to crash the game. So, but it's always nice to do a validation check anyway when you can. Validation checks, you can't do those on thread safe functions. This is not a thread safe function. My original thought was to try to handle all this from right here inside of the animation blueprint, but I could not do that. It wouldn't let me. So I did update this note right here on this function, update layering data, so that you guys would not get confused, because I came in here and for a second I was confused, and then I realized that I needed to leave a comment. So if we go inside of here, you'll see that I moved everything under this overlay state. So it may be just a little, just a hair more performance friendly doing it like I had it before, but it's not really important. And I think it looks cleaner to do it this way. And I do not think it'll have much, if any, of a performance cost. Also, this allows us to apply that breathing over the top of that as well, so that it kind of looks the same as the rifle and the pistol states. That way they don't look more dynamic than the unarmed state. On the output of this state, I'm using the onBecomeRelevant, which fires when this has any weight. So when this has any weight, it'll call this no on not aiming, and this, oh, that's the wrong one. On state entry, yeah, on state entry is whenever I actually call this. That's when we actually enter this state. When we actually enter this state, I'll call this, and it just sets the current held object state to ready. On the other state, if I can get back to it, the aiming state, I'm doing the same thing. On state entry, I'm calling on aiming state entry, and it's just setting it to aiming. So I did a lot of organization over here too. You'll notice that everything is under a subcategory. It's under a category and a subcategory all throughout here now. You don't have any like floating variables. Everything is in a place where it generally makes sense. And that helps clean things up and helps you guys find things. And it also makes it seem less overwhelming. So that's that. As far as the actual act of handling that, so how do I get that So yeah, okay. So we're setting that overlay state, or whatever the current held object state, right here. We're setting this inside of here, but how are we getting it back over to the character blueprint? I'm actually doing that on update additive overlay. I just decided to do that inside of here, and you'll see I commented it, and I'm keeping tabs of the last held object state. And if the current held object state is different than the last held object state, then we will send a notification to the character blueprint, and he'll perform his stuff that is required to update the live retargeting settings. So that's how I'm handling that. And all of that is commented right here. So as far as the animation blueprint of the live retargeted guys, I refactored some stuff in here. We're no longer using this tag stuff. I did put it in a function so that you could still hook it back up if you needed to for whatever reason. So when the character blueprint is actually calling this right here, and it's just setting the and when I say the character blueprint, I mean each of these guys are calling this set IK retargeter, which is a function that actually exists inside of here. So I actually need to put that under live retargeting. There we go. So under DAO live retargeting, set IK retargeter, that's where you'll find it. And there should be another one, this one. So I'll put that under there as well. And so if we go into this, you'll see that it's just updating the IK retargeter. So you have to set the variable. And I may actually refactor that, because in actuality, I should be setting this variable inside of here. Otherwise, you have to call this. Yeah. So I'm just going to leave it like that for now. I may refactor that like what I had in mind in a later update. But anyway, I don't want to get into that right now. So we're setting the live retargeter mesh reference right here, and then we're calling this function, and that just uses that blueprint interface function on the anim instance to pass in the IK retargeter. And so if it's valid and it's not equal to the current one, which it shouldn't be, then we'll go ahead and update it. This function right here is what we're actually using inside of the character blueprint right here. That's what we're calling here to pass in our data asset settings. And it's just setting the settings. This is actually being updated on a tick so that it can interpolate. Oh no, never mind. Interpolation doesn't take place here. It actually takes place right here. So this is actually bound to a function, a thread safe function called get retarget profile, and you'll see it's thread safe. And that's actually where the interpolation is happening. So this is only relevant during runtime. When you go to compile the game, you'll want to disconnect this, and you'll want to set this right here. You'll want to call this off of here. And I might just go ahead and do that. So it may cause it to be called twice, but I think it'll be okay. This is just in case you guys forget to disconnect this, because it's not important after the game has been compiled for this to be here. Actually, I don't think we need it at all anymore. Yeah, so I'm just going to disconnect that actually, guys. We'll call it on initialize update, but I'm just going to do this. Yeah, so we don't actually need that anymore. I may have gotten confused because of this interpolation stuff. So we don't need that anymore. So I'll just have it like this. That should still work. Let me just make sure that's not going to break anything. Yeah, so that's fine. It didn't break anything. So now I'm going to actually show you guys how to do this because I started talking and I forgot that I was even going to do that. So let me just go ahead and show you guys how that's done. So I'm going to open up this data asset and I'm just going to expand all, right click on this and expand all. And then I'm going to dock it off to the side over here and I'm just going to press play. And now you'll see this right here. We do not need those to be expanded actually. And we don't need FK or speed planting. So I'll show you a way that might actually make it easier. So we have our debug settings right here. If we go to the aim offset category, and we'll have to stop it to do this, and we uncheck AO debug degrees, then you'll see it prints it, and the middle one is actually the yaw. That's the left to right, which will be Z in here. So it's about 3, positive 3. So we need to set it to -3. Wait, do I have the right one open? Okay, so what I did may have actually broken it. Okay. I didn't think it would, but it looks like it may have actually broken it. So it looks like if you want this stuff to update in real time, apparently you do need that to be set to be running on a tick. Or maybe not. I'm kind of zoning out because I've been talking too long now. So you'll see that one's pretty accurate. And now this one is about 3.5. So let's say -3.5. Yeah. So interestingly enough, rotating it on that one actually added an offset to this. Let's see. And it's a -1. So we need to yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. And you can mess around with it. Some of that inaccuracy is due to breathing. We could try cyan 1.5. So anyway, you can tweak it until you're content, but that's basically the gist of it. Now I feel like I don't like the way that's right underneath her, right up against her neck. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a static offset because it's easier to create a static offset. And I'm going to just bring it back a little bit. And that shouldn't affect the accuracy, as you can see. So now what we need to do is adjust the hand. And basically this is just how it goes. And you could try to do something like this if you want, but I'm just going to make it like I did the other ones. I'm just going to do something like that. And that should be good enough. Let's just move it out a little bit. Okay, so we might need to rotate it. We need to rotate it this way. And that may be the part that kind of throws you guys off. But luckily we can change it and watch it change in real time, so. I'm just going to move it back over just a little bit and forward a bit. Yeah, anyway, that one's kind of hard to do, but I'll try to get it a little bit more accurate there. That should be fine. Anyway, I'm not going to tweak it to any extreme here. I'm just trying to show you guys how it works. So that's not it though. We're not done. Now what we need to do is we have to fix it for this state, because you'll notice that due to anatomy and the differences during live retargeting, that will be offset. So we're not going to have to actually mess with this one and this one because its accuracy isn't important, but we're going to use a static local offset this time, because using the static offset is going to be a little bit more difficult because we're at an angle here. So I'm going to do this. Looks like her hand is needing to and that's basically it. Now, as far as the fingers, I can't do a whole lot about that. You can mess with the live retargeter settings to try to fix the fingers, but the live retargeter has always had issues with fingers, and there's not a whole lot I can do about that. So now, as far as displacement in the hand itself, you can move, if it's attached to a socket, then you can offset the socket itself. Don't rotate the socket, just position it up and down, back and forth. So up and down, back and forth, don't rotate it. If you need to rotate it so that it's running along her hand right here, you can, but make sure that it's pointing straight in her hand. That's the important part. As far as modifying the accuracy, you need to do that from here. And yeah, so that covers that one. Now I'll go ahead and show you the other ones. Now some of these might actually be crooked in their hand. Like the pistol was a little crooked, but I didn't really mess with it. I was like, you know what, it's okay. So now these right here, the retarget showcase mannequins and the metahuman bodies, I have not done those, and I'm not going to do those right now. I will do these in a later one because I'm going to have to handle this one differently, because you're changing between like 12 different body types within a single animation, within a single character blueprint. And I didn't really feel like taking the time. I'll do that for the next update. Okay, so but if you want to, you can try to do it yourself. I have all these other examples here, and those examples actually are working, as you can see. And yeah, so anyway, I'll go ahead and leave that debug setting set up like that, because it makes it easier to set these data asset settings to adjust them. And I will see you guys in the next video.